I hope all of you are doing well. There's a lot going on in the world, and probably like you, I have been getting my spiritual house in order, my financial house in order, all my houses in order. And so it's taken me a while to get back to this, but I did share the book that we're reading, Paranormal Parasites, with a work colleague, and he was very intrigued, along with another book that I got from reading this one. So hopefully you guys are enjoying this. Give me a yellow heart if you guys are enjoying this book. And if you guys, because this is Paranormal Parasites by Nick Redfern. Paranormal Parasites, the voracious appetites of something, something. Okay. I don't want to go all back to the top on my iPad reading this. So let us get into it. Again, just a little snippet about me. I am a transformational coach and a narc coach. I spent 10 years um, getting getting to know myself. For a while, I was dormant, and when I became homeless at 40 in 2017, uh, it changed my life. I lost absolutely everything, and watching that destruction, watching that tower take place in my life, and I had no resource, I had no recourse. I had resources, but I wasn't, they were blocked. And that's a whole nother story. So it forced me to get into to start healing. And I had to go. I've always been on the healing journey. I've always been on the spiritual journey. I've always been a teacher. I've always been a healer. Those are my gifts. uh, but I was dormant at one point in time, and before I became homeless. And so I had to ask deeper questions. I had to go further inside. And while everything, I understood the calm in the midst of the storm. The calm in the midst of the storm, Phoenix's Rising Academy, is if you are going through anything right now, especially, the calm in the midst of the storm is keeping your eyes on God, keeping focused on what you have to do, being obedient to that small, still small voice. That is why the enemy, the devil, and his minions distract us, is because they don't want us to hear the guidance from the Most High God. They're going to block our crown chakra, our third eye chakras. They're going to block any messengers that come in. They're going to, you know, try and confuse us and even make us mad at God. And I know this personally because I went through it. That's the story of Job. I want to make you've had it too good. I mean, the story of Job is about a narcissist, cluster B personality, and pathological jealousy. You know, because I've been approached for no reason, it's blindsided me by cluster B personalities who are like, oh yeah, you don't really have that talent, do you? Da 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 da. And then they believe that they have the right to test you. Do not ever think that the Most High God, having made you, knowing the number of hairs on your head, that he's going to test you, because he does not. God does not test. It's an insecure demonic entity that doesn't want the competition that tests us. So anyway, I guess I needed to get that out for somebody, or maybe even myself, this morning. But so having gone through that, I have 4 steps that I take you through. I have a workbook on Amazon. I have a course, a program that's 8 weeks, and we take you through what is a cluster B personality, their tactics, their strategies, who, what, when, where, how, basically, and we also get into the occult and what they really are, not from this pseudo clinical crap. And then in the second part is, now that you're armed with knowledge about the people that have been in your life and how to identify them, and maybe even in yourself. Then we excavate to your authentic self by going, whatever is revealed. Because for me, I asked God specific questions that would pop up. It's like, okay, why am I afraid of that? I attacked my fear. That's what I did. I attacked my fear because I got beat, like, severely by my father. So I was afraid of black men. I was afraid to say no because to anybody, because I would be retaliated against. And unfortunately, when we have experiences with cluster B personalities, it does kind of leave an energetic signature on us to let other cluster B personalities or narcissists know that we have been attacked, right? So they try and keep us in circulation. It's not that you're attracting them; they smell it on us, and even if when you've healed, they still smell it, right? But they're more privy to leave when they know that you are spiritually powerful, and that you're not afraid. You don't have that people pleasing. You will speak up for yourself. You will tell about them, right? So and that has consequences, quote unquote, on their own, because these guys want to punish you for not taking their conditioning. All right. So, that's a little bit about me, and so that's the services that I offer. Um, if you want to know more, because it's like 6 o'clock in the morning, I think. No, yeah, it's 6 o'clock in the morning, and the clocks went back, but it's ahead. But I'm up because this is the normal time that I would be up. So, and I've uh, been wanting to do this because this week was my day off, or this week is my week off, unless they happen to call me again. But anyway, so if you have any questions, if you want some impact, want somebody to listen to you and give you that safe space, I also provide that. I'm still working out the kinks on how to deliver that. So, but if you want to email or whatever, just give me a DM, okay? So here we're going to get into this. This is part 8 of reading Paranormal Parasites by Nick Redfern, and this is chapter 11, Creatures That Make Us Sick. I believe I'm on chapter 11 because I already read. All right. Okay, sorry guys, hold on. Okay, yes, we read this. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay, let's get to it. Had to make sure I wasn't skimping on you guys. Because I read, and again, it's alright. Okay, so chapter 11, Creatures That Make Us Sick. It's a fact that when our bodies become depleted of vital energies and essential vitamins and minerals, we fall sick. It's all but inevitable, too. One only has to look at 2 medical conditions that serve perfectly to make that very point. They are anorexia and anemia. The symptoms and side effects of anorexia, the desire to stay thin at all costs, even if the cost is one's health, are many. They are potentially life-threatening too. They include liver problems, low blood pressure, exhaustion, fainting, seizures, and of course, weight loss. As for anemia, which is caused by a lowering of red cells in blood, symptoms are equally serious. Hemorrhaging, ulcers, severe weakness, cramping in the legs, and shortness of breath. And both anorexia and anemia have one grim thing in common. If left untreated over time, they can lead to death. Of course, anyone at any time can fall sick. And just because someone is involved in the world of the paranormal doesn't mean that every illness is somehow connected. It would be absurd to even suggest such a thing. We are all human, and unfortunately, we all get ill, sometimes with minor issues, and on other occasions to an extremely serious degree. Particularly intriguing, though, are those cases in which the condition has come on in immediate aftermath of a paranormal encounter, as in hours later, or at the very most, just a few days. Did a maid show the symptoms of anemia? Joseph McCabe, a Franciscan monk who passed away in 1955, knew a great deal about all of this. He spent years poring over ancient texts and doing his utmost to understand the nature of the creatures that so terrified those who lived in Mesopotamia, particularly the Sumerians. McCabe had a particular interest in a pair of highly dangerous demons called Lilu and Lilitu, who dwelled in the region. He was clearly aware of how illness was a side effect of a supernatural encounter. He said the story of religious controversy did a maid show the symptoms of anemia. Obviously, Lilitu had been busy at night with her body. McCabe went on to list literally dozens of cases he had on file of people who had nighttime encounters with supernatural entities who shortly after began to exhibit signs of anemia, sometimes acute anemia, but always in incredibly quick time. This all strongly suggests that certain paranormal things were depleting the people McCabe referred to in significantly dangerous fashion. A perfect example of someone falling ill very quickly pardon me, after a paranormal event is that of Albert Bender, the guy who pretty much kicked off the whole Men in Black mystery in the early 1950s. After allegedly getting too close to the truth behind the UFO phenomena, Bender was visited by three strange and menacing MIB. They were not of the Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones type, though. Rather, they were far more like today's so-called shadow people. They were phantom-like things with shining eyes and bad attitudes that walked through the walls of Bender's attic abode in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Bender was terrified by the warnings of the MIB, who told him to quit ufology or else. As it turned out, it took several threats and creepy encounters before Bender finally heeded the words of the terrible trio. When all of this was going down, Bender went down too, with head-splitting migraines, severe stomach pains, faintness, and issues with his short-term memory, and he lost significant weight, suggesting he was being fed on. Was all of this due to the fear and stress that had been instilled in Bender? Or had he somehow been supernaturally attacked? Who knows? But things didn't end there. Bender, quite out of the blue, developed a fear that he had cancer. Fortunately, he didn't have cancer at all. After quitting ufology and getting married, the symptoms went away, and Bender lived to the ripe old age of 94, passing away in 2016. Dazed, dizzy, and meningitis. In early 2016, I spoke with an Englishman, Robbie, who had a disturbing encounter that falls right into the sickness-causing category of paranormal encounters. In August 1982, he had a similar experience after an encounter with what sounds like one of the shadow people. Robbie, who was 14 at the time, was living with his parents in Beckenham, England. He had a traumatic encounter with what he described to me as a flat, black-colored shadow, which crawled on the bedroom ceiling. During the encounter, Robbie experienced a bout of sleep paralysis and said that the room suddenly smelled like dirt. Robbie was soon hospitalized with meningitis. It was fortunate that the condition was quickly caught, and Robbie made a full recovery. There is, however, uh, a disturbing afterward in all this. Several months later, Robbie was hospitalized again after fainting while playing soccer at school. He was diagnosed with acute anemia. There is clearly a trend here. And let me pause here, you guys, because I just realized something with my iPad is that my Wi-Fi is not on. So, I'm sorry. But has anybody had this type of experience? Now, I saw shadow people I saw the man in the black hat surrounded by many different entities. He was not alone. But it was a very scary encounter. Now, I've always had the gift of vision to see in between worlds. And I asked for all my present gifts to be enhanced. The Most High did not disappoint. And besides that, my situation needed to be, because I was living in a city where the inhabitants always for years, for months, had been using witchcraft in order to have control over an area. And this included doing roofing spells, placing sigils in certain counties, and over buildings. And I took pictures. Once I started to discover this, I took pictures of things that we think are tagging, graffiti art and all that stuff. It was much more than that. And so, even though I didn't want to be introduced to this level of awareness, I still was. So, yeah. But, so I had an experience. This is what this reminds me of. Mind you, I've not read this book. I'm reading it with you guys. So, mind you, before the Most High told us to leave Sacramento, and I was staying in a hotel. I was working a security job. I got 48 hours a week. I'm doing my thing. My stalker is across the street or has somebody posted across the street. And, I'm going through a lot of warfare. I quit smoking, which actually led me to quit smoking. It was not because I was actually smoking, or it wasn't because of the smoking, even though it is a bad habit. But it was because of the spiritual attack. So sometimes we have to get rid of our devices, those things that we're addicted to, right? We have to get rid of them because the enemy will devise a way to use it as a gateway, as a portal into attacking us. And these guys had played with my heart. They had tried to give me MS. They had tried to give me Hashimoto's disease. They had tried to give me PCOS. They were tampering with my reproductive. I had a very disturbing encounter with some type of reptilian, and I watched as its claws went around, like if I were to get a C-section, right? If I were to get a C-section, that's what it was doing. So it was scraping. So this was the Jezebel spirit. Okay? So when you guys don't think that whether you call Asmodeus has the same type of he's a demon of lust, right? And so I don't think that many of these are gender specific. I believe that they're I don't know. Dual. I think we used to say hermaphrodites back in the day. So please don't come for me. I don't know, but um, I don't believe that. There we go. Okay. Pardon me. I don't believe that gender has to do with anything. I do, you know what I mean? I just think that it's energy, it's vibration. Like you have an electrical current that's feminine because it needs to burst something, right? Or be a receptacle for something. And then you have the masculine, da, 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 da. And these are, so these are how these words are. But anyway, towards the end, so I'm watching this reptile thing, and it wasn't only that. It wasn't only trying to give me because it was my etheric body that was trying to cut something, but it was focused on my reproductive organs. It was focused on my, and so the witch that was attached to this was when I found out later, actually, when we finally moved, and it was a couple months ago, I started taking this tea, and for some reason, my spiritual eyes showed, as soon as I opened the package, my spiritual eyes showed that this woman had two, and I knew that she had abortions. But, and it's not, you know what I mean? So some people do things in their life and they try and blame us for it. Right? They don't want to carry that burden. Those of us who have, let's just, for lack of better words, who have good karma coming into these worlds, it's because we did the work we had to go through. So right now, I chose to go through when my ancestors, when my auntie, who's been with me, has asked me to. I said yes. I did not want to. They had been coming after me for a minute about it, and not in a bad way. It was just like, look, we need you to do this. It was a nudging, because the Most High God, your spirit, your ancestors, my ancestors aren't going to try and force me to do stuff. I did have an ancestor who was pretty mean. Meaning that she yelled, like, you're on the short bus kind of thing, da 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 da. But when I took that on, now that I've taken it on and now I went through it, I mean, like, that's the story of Job. You have to clear away your generational, those curses, those hexes throughout the bloodlines, because you have a mother and a father. They all had different last names, right? So you have to go through all of that, and when you're flowing, right? Whatever is clogging up that system has to be purged. And so I was literally chosen. Being chosen doesn't necessarily mean that good stuff. It may result in good stuff, but and that's what makes your family jealous, because they know what the end result is. They can recognize you spiritually, but they can't articulate it in the material, in the physical, in the flesh. So they start treating you, because every time you come around, they know that you are the chosen one. That light is around you. Okay, so anyway, but because these people hadn't killed me yet, because they had tried so many times to kill me, to kill my fur babies. I've told my story. Go listen to my podcast. That they were trying to make me sick, and they were sending, doing incantations and spells to try and immobilize me physically, so I wouldn't go anywhere. Right? So so I had to fast. I had to fast a lot. I went from intermittent fasting to fasting, and that didn't turn out to be too good. I mean, because but anyway, it helped in the long run on a spiritual level. I'll heal on a physical level, because it was just too much, but because of all the stress. But these guys were trying to give me diseases, were trying to trying to drug me up in the spiritual realm, which was weird. I had somebody trying to lynch me. The cool thing is that the Most High God has revealed a lot of the people who attacked me, because I asked. Always ask, and you shall get the answer. You have to listen to it, because it's not going to be what the world thinks it should be, oh, that shouldn't be the answer. It should be this. Well, no, because what was done to me never should have been done. What was done to a lot of us never should have been done. So, the answer to our questions as to who, what, when, where, and why may shock the shit out of us. Like, I've worked with these people. I'm in a whole different city, and I've worked with people who were working on me through technology and whatever. The way that this network is set up, I mean, they always connecting with each other from Mexico to the East Coast to, Southern California to, Canada. It's a big network, and people don't want to believe it, but a lot of things are coming out, and which is the best, because a lot of us who haven't been taken seriously, now people are saying, okay, I guess it's either safe for us to reveal our own experiences, or now we haven't seen this type of stuff, so now I guess we're gonna have to process it if this is gonna be a norm. So I can relate to them trying to make you make I oh that was the other thing too. I had a sister, the golden child, who stole my inheritance from my mother when my mother passed. She didn't steal. She has to pay it back in the spiritual and in the physical, and she is paying for it now. But she was trying to hide it, that and if it wasn't for my mom actually coming to me and saying, yeah, she stole this, and for, I think it was like 2 or 3 years after her death, that I got another visit from her, and she had been just kicking it with me, basically. She was my protector now, and you know what I mean, she was seeing how I lived and whatever, and I felt her presence, but I wasn't really acknowledging, because we weren't close. We weren't close in the physical realm, in this realm. But suddenly she gets up from behind me, and she's so mad. She's like, "What about the money?" And I'm like, or something like that. I'm like, and I was like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! You need to back up, because number one, when you were alive, you were a narcissistic prick. So, oh, being protective of me now, you know, um, and being angry, because now all of that, you get to shed that worldly skin. You get to shed what we've been caked in, right? Because living in this world is a paranormal encounter. It's a paranormal action, right? It's a paranormal experience. I mean, it really is, when you think about it. Just, let be easy on yourself and just think about it. But she has stolen housing, and she had stolen money, a substantial amount of money. And I don't know much of the details, because I really didn't want to know. I had already been through enough, and I was trying to heal, right? And plus, I was still under attack. So anyway, the golden child sister tried to induce a spiritually induce a, a high blood pressure attack of some sort, because that's exactly how she killed my mom. That's one of the ways that she killed my mom. But if you watch The Good Nurse, it was later revealed that I didn't want to watch it. I'm like, why don't I want to watch it? And so God says, watch it. So I watch it. That's how they did it. That's how they did it. Because when my mom came to me, she said, I was fine, and then I saw this vision of, like, an upside down triangle, like a tornado, but it was purposely upside down. That was being stressed, like everything was going down, and I could feel her, because it's like throw up. It's like you feel like you're gonna throw. It's something about throwing up, like, you know what I mean. So I felt that, and I felt like, oh my God, everything's rushing up, right? And it was scary. And so yeah, they so sometimes the paranormal activity doesn't have to do with the demonic entity, but it does have to be to do with people who are demon possessed enough to not adhere to spiritual laws, and violate somebody else's free will, and try and take them too soon. So anyway, okay, let's get back to it. Sorry about that, guys. I had to buy some time, but that's really my experience. If you guys relate, put a brown heart in the comments. Sugar and diabetes. In 2015, David Weatherly wrote an article for my Men in Black book titled Children of the Men in Black. The subject was the phenomenon of black eyed children. As so often happens when I write a book, people contact me to share their experiences. One of those was Jim, who said he had an encounter with the BEC, Black Eyed Children, in March of 2008 in Florida. At the time, Jim and his wife were living in a rented duplex in a small town outside of Orlando. Jim's encounter was a typical BEC one. There was a knock at the door late at night, and Jim, having peered through the spy hole on the front door, saw two kids in black hoodies, both staring at the ground. He tentatively opened the door and was confronted by a pair of pale-faced, black-eyed monsters who were now staring right at him. Jim slammed the door and never saw them again. 2 days later, though, he experienced a severe case of dizziness, followed by a couple of pretty bad nosebleeds. Then 3 weeks later, he felt repeatedly sick, nauseous, and shaky. He was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Jim's blood sugar levels were extremely low. Having read up on the BEC phenomena, Jim wonders if his diabetes was somehow provoked by BEC, so adversely affecting him at the time of his encounter. Then there is the account of Michelle, a resident of Nova Scotia, Canada, in January 2017. Just 2 days after having a graphic dream about the Slender Man, Michelle was hospitalized with severe ulcerative colitis, which she had never had before, and which led her to drop 5 pounds in just a few days. She finally made a good recovery, but was shaken by the timing of the onset of the condition, which she believed and still believes was connected to the skinny monster of her nightmare. It's important to note that the various conditions discussed in this chapter are anemia, colitis, and weight loss. All three are connected to food and digestion. And on the matter of weight loss, and that's what I just said, because not all of it is through Slender Man or Black Eyed Children or whatever. You can have witches and their cult covenant or whatever. Whoever practices whatever can try in. Because I actually had people, a babalao that I saw, because people don't believe me when I say that I can see them. I can see you. I moved into my new place, and I had a guy who was mounting me, literally, but he was alive, but he had projected himself because he was so carnivorous, lustful, that he couldn't help. In his eyes, it can't be helped, and since I can't get to you, because when you shut yourself off, because you can recognize demonic entities and energies, when you shut yourself off, they will force themselves on you. Okay, and when you can see, and with spiritual eyes, you they get spooked because it's like, okay, you can prove it. Even though I can call you crazy, and they will call you crazy, you still saw me, and that scares them. So anyway, wasting away. On one of the strangest cases in my files comes from a woman who, back in the 1990s, had a series of experiences that left her seriously ill and took her several months to fully recover from. Allison of Texas was 17 when, in the late 1998, she began to feel ill. The first symptom was a rapid loss of weight, around 10 pounds in less than a month, which is definitely not a good thing. Given her age at the time, it's perhaps not unreasonable that Allison's mother tactfully asked if all was okay with her. When her mother brought up the issue of her weight loss, Allison became noticeably defensive, but denied that she had anorexia or some somewhat related condition, bulimia. Nothing more was said. Allison continued to have a healthy appetite despite steadily losing weight. It was around 10 days later, however, that Allison's mother became deeply worried. Earlier on a Sunday morning, Allison screamed for her mother, who quickly came running to her bedroom. To her horror, she saw Allison lying on the bed, her face deathly pale. When her mother tried to help Allison to sit up, Allison's eyes rolled into her head and she fainted. Luckily, the pair lived only a few minutes from the local hospital, so Allison's mother got her into the car and raced to the emergency room. In no time, she was being examined. As Allison, who regained consciousness in the car, but still felt weak and dizzy, rested, a doctor asked her mother about Allison's general health. She explained that Allison had lost a lot of weight in the last few weeks. Maybe not surprisingly, the doctor also asked questions about anorexia and bulimia. When Allison recovered, the pair left the hospital, with the doctor suggesting to Allison's mother that she keep a very close eye on her daughter, saying if she had any more fainting spells to take her to their regular doctor. They were wise words. Allison fell sick on 3 more occasions as her weight continued to plummet. A final total of approximately 20 pounds in around 6 weeks. Was admitted to the hospital, watched very carefully. Tests showed that physically, Allison was exhibiting all the signs associated with early anorexia, but that there was always someone with her when she ate her meals in her hospital room and at home too. In fact, she was eating eagerly. On top of that, Allison's mother sat with her for hours after eating each meal, on the suggestion of one of the doctors, to make sure she didn't make herself ill, as is common with bulimia, by vomiting up their meals. Further, tests were run, but no answers were to be found, at least not by conventional medicine. A chilling nighttime visitor. At the height of her illness, when Allison even started to take on a jaundiced look, she confided in her mother that there was something she had not told her or the doctors. Allison's mother feared initially that her daughter was going to say she had been using and abusing hard drugs, but no. Allison said that for 4 or 5 days before she began losing weight, she woke in the dead of night to see a pale-faced woman attired in a long black hooded robe standing next to the bed. The woman was very tall, around 6'3" or 4". Her skin was white, and her eyes were staring and bulging. Allison found herself unable to move as the woman closed in on her, looming over the bed. The woman gave a loud, satisfied groan at the very same time that Allison suddenly felt ill and cold. The woman retreated into the darkness of the bedroom and vanished. Allison put the whole thing down as a bad dream and told her mother that she didn't think any more of it. That is, until the pale hag returned the next night, and, well, you get the picture. Allison's mother listened in fear and dread as her daughter told her how every night for weeks the woman appeared in the bedroom, and all the while Allison was getting sicker and thinner. Allison even claimed to have seen the woman in her hospital room, as if, said Allen, the woman in black knew where she was at all times. That's scary. Allison confided other thing to her mother. 4 or 5 nights before the woman first appeared, Allison and 2 of her friends had been playing with an old Ouija board. Allison's mother was more terrified than she was angry. After all, she only wanted to get her daughter well, not pass judgment when she was severely ill, cleansing the home as good health returns. As luck or fate would have it, Allison's mother had a friend, Jennifer, who worked in the field of alternative medicine and who also had deep knowledge of the world of the supernatural. Jennifer agreed to perform a cleansing of not just the family home, but also of Allison herself. Since the pale supernatural woman only ever appeared at night, Jennifer said if it would be a good deal for her to sit in the bedroom while Allison slept to ensure that if the woman did appear, she would be ready to deal with her. Jennifer arrived the following evening, armed to the teeth with just about everything she needed to ensure that the evil entity in the home would be banished for good. Jennifer's weapons included sea salt, which is said to have the ability to prevent supernatural creatures from crossing certain thresholds, including doorways or rooms. So Jennifer scattered liberal amounts of sea salt at the front of and back doors of the home, in front of Allison's bedroom and across the window sill in her room. That was followed by the use of what is known as sage smudge stick. Traditionally, for centuries, sage has been seen as both a powerful protector and cleanser. So Jennifer did what she does best. She performed a lengthy cleansing program that went on for several hours and involved her lighting and smudging her lighting the smudge stick and ensuring that the smoke reached all corners of the home. Then it was a case of watching and waiting. Allison's mother stayed in the living room at the suggestion of Jennifer, who sat by Allison's bed, ready for just about anything. The black-garbed woman did not put in an appearance, but there were two inexplicable things that did happen that night. Allison's bedroom was briefly filled with an odor like rotting meat, and a few moments rapid scratching noises were heard on the walls of the bedroom. Allison and Jennifer had held hands tightly and prayed that the hideous thing would leave, and leave now. By all accounts, the rituals worked. The eerie woman was never seen again, and over the course of 5 or 6 weeks, Allison's health turned to normal. Today, now in her late 30s, Allison is convinced that whatever the woman was feeding on her, who led to the weight loss and anorexia like side effects and symptoms. To this day, Allison keeps both sea salt and sage in her home in Arizona. Amen. Okay, so we're going to stop right there. The next chapter is 12, Bedroom Invaders. Page 102. All right. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And I have had, just thinking about that last part where she said that the lady had been feeding on her. And and that does happen. It can happen whether, sorry, hun, my dog around. It can happen whether the person is dead or alive. You have people who I have a lady who, when I was homeless, I know now, targeted me because I was vulnerable. And she said, I just like your energy. She would always watch me and I was creeped out by her. And I actually cussed her out a few times to let her know that I thought that she was creepy. And then one time, she does something nice, and this is before I had done further work on myself. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe she's nice or whatever. And she allowed me to shower, cook, get some hot water, get a hot meal, make a hot meal for myself, and all of that, right? Or just that, not sleep in her home, because she was living out of the motel at the time. It was a dream for me to be living out of the hotel, instead of on the streets. And but this lady, so when I realized that she was blocking me from getting transportation. She was blocking me from getting jobs. She was a blocker, She was like the ultimate cock blocker. And I cut her off. God said, cut her off. Cut her off quietly, because she's, when God tells you to be quiet, when you're leaving, when you're escaping, you need to do it. Okay? Because really that's not going to help you. It just gets you out. Because they're not expecting you to be leaving them. because they don't think that you recognize them as the demons that they are. Sorry. They don't think that you recognize them as the demons that they are. So they're not expecting that you're going to dart. That's with any narcissist. And with any cluster B personality, you got to leave quietly. Right? Because, and here's the benefit of doing that, they're not going to make a scene. They're all about appearances. They're not going to make a scene. They're going to keep it logged. Right? So this is when they recede back into their demonic form, but the mask is, oh gosh, well, maybe they had something to do. I wish them well. Right? But this woman, because I would, sometimes it's hard being us Phoenixes when we see, people take the word seer and they misuse it. Or they make it simple, like it's a simpleton, like it's a kindergarten thing. So this woman would literally attach to me. Whatever she was in the spiritual realm, whatever, she would attach to me. And you could feel her siphoning, right? It felt like tentacles, really. And she would attach things to me. She would attach these to me. And drain my energy or whatever. So I had to pray about that. I had to shield myself around that. When I left her, I got a job. When I got everything that I needed. When I left, she went around, she was so mad because she was not able to feed on me. And I remember I was working 2 jobs so I could go into the hotel with my fur babes. And I walked to work, which was a total of 8 miles there, 8 miles, and, back. Combination. So 4 miles there, 4 miles back. And I was tired. I mean, that's why my feet look disfigured now. You can't see my ankle bone. Because there's muscle over it. Because of walking on uneven ground, shoes having holes in them, things of that nature. And, she tried following me, tried bullying me, tried being where I was, all of this stuff. And so it happened, you guys. And so she got sick. I saw her once. She kept me from getting housing. She was on a warpath. I was set to get into a tiny home. And this woman, like I said, I came from a city that their main thing was witchcraft. Still is to this day. They're not changing. Because it was long there before I even moved to that city. And that was the surprise. It's kind of surprise. We're going to try and sacrifice you. So, but yeah, and the Most High had said, you got to listen. When the Most High is talking to you, when your angel and your guides are talking to you, you got to listen. Even if it sounds, that's why, and now I understand. I had a spiritual mom back in the 90s, and she raised me, gave me a good foundation. And she would say, if it sounds, the more outlandish it is, the more, pardon me, when you hear God say something, if you can discern the spirits, right? I can tell my voice between God's voice, between, some demonic entities or entity's voice. Or even somebody who's alive and practicing telepathic communication. Okay? Because it happens. I had a coworker who didn't want to talk to me, be seen with me, because, she was Mexican and she didn't want to be seen with me. And, but she came to me, she says, no, I'm going to talk to you telepathically. No. So I had to shut her down. But anyway, there's a lot of different things. I bet you guys, if you start thinking over in your life on the paranormal experiences that you've had, they're out there. And it doesn't matter whether you're white, black, brown. It doesn't matter. Purple polka dots. So anyway, I love you guys. I'm up. Hopefully it wasn't too distracting. This time change has gotten me racked up, but I know that you guys are getting a lot out of this. So again, put your hearts in the comments if you have any questions about services that I've named, or you want to know more, about the program from sealed to healed, or you want some empathic listening. Hey, look, contact me. All right. But other than that, remember, Phoenixes, your blessings are in your ashes. Rise.